Good morning, madam. Good morning, friends. And today I'm Lily Pushpa from first year MSc Nursing, the Department of Mental Health Nurse from Holy Mary College of Nursing. So today I'm going to take a seminar on psychometric assessment. Okay, so first we'll go the introduction regarding how it was been introduced. Okay, so this psychometric assessment haven't traveled in the year of 20th century only. Okay, so first Alfred Binet was identified the intelligent test in 1905. So later the psychometric test has been evaluated regarding of the personality, behavior and aptitude test. Okay, so different kind of psychometric assessment has been introduced. Okay, so the psychometric test is also known as an aptitude test. Okay, so especially these psychometric assessments, mostly they have established for the cognitive, to identify the cognitive ability or to identify the personality changes of the individuals. Okay, so first we'll see what is the definition of the psychometric test. Okay, so these psychometric test or the standardized test. Okay, so standardized test means which can able to measure. Okay, so the psychologist is going to be measures the mental performance of the individual and to identify the abnormal personalities of the individuals, and also the employers, and to select the employee or the candidates and for the particular role, so they are going to select these kind of an psychometric test. Okay, so what is the characteristics of a good psychological test they have to meet means first thing reliability, validity, norms and some uniform objectives, interpretable standardizations and objectivities. These characteristics are very important in our whenever you are performing a psychometric assessment. Okay, so what are the development of a psychological test you have to steps you have to take in care. So first one, you have to analysis of the situation. Okay, so analysis of the situation means what is the problem first you have to identify, and second one, tentative selection of test items. So what are the requirements is needed to test the individual, and some procedure you have to follow and administer that procedure in a group, and you have to select the final selection and you have to evaluate the process. Okay, so first thing you have to analyze and you have to select the items, and you have to set a procedure, and according to the whatever the planned procedure is there, so that procedure you have to implement, and you have to select and you have to evaluate the performance. Okay, and next one is the principles of well conducted psychology test. So already we have seen the characteristics, right? So same thing they have been explained here. So first one, objectivity. So objectivity means what? Whenever you are for example, whenever you are doing a scoring method, so judgmental. Okay, so the judgment should be correct. Okay, and second one is a test norms. So test norms means what? So you should not be make a differentiation between the two individuals. Okay, so what you have to make, whatever the performance, whatever the scores and whatever the reference you are giving to one individual, so that should be compared with other person. So you should not give any partialities between the two or other persons. Okay, and validity. So validity means what are the test you are administrating, so whether that is correct or not. Okay, and standardization. So standardization means what? So the result. Okay, so when you are compared with other person, the results are achieved or not, that you have to check. So reliability means what? So getting the same results, and whenever you are doing a repeated test. Okay, so once you are doing a same test, and it should not be false. Okay, so that is the principles of well conducted psychological or psychometric test. Okay, so first we'll see what are the types of psychometric test. Okay, so how you are going to conduct the different kind of psychometric test means, so first one is a numerical test. So numerical means what? So they are going to ask some graphs, tables, numbers or the word problems. Okay, that kind of test is called as what? Numerical reasoning test. And verbal test means, so the person is asked some questions and identify some true or false questions they are going to process and cannot say, means the person is not giving any response. Okay, so that they are going to either expressed in a written form, either expressed in a oral form. Okay, so that is called as verbal test. So technical test means what? So it mostly administered for the technically oriented jobs. Okay, for example, like So skilled or non-skilled technicians, like for example like machines or mechanical operators, etc. Okay, so these kind of, for example, how they will give means, so they will ask you to they will remove and give some machines, and they will say to attach that, so by keeping of a mechanical instruments. Okay, so that process is called as a technical process. And next one is a logical test. Okay, so these logical tests or subdivide into 4 types, that is abstract reasoning. Okay, for example, they will give a different kinds of shapes, patterns and words, and they will ask to think a logical thinking and say the reason. Okay, so say the answer for that. Okay, inductive reasoning means what? So they will give some shapes and the matrices they will give, and one image. Okay, so one image will come in that, and they will give a missing shape of that, so you have to find out that missing shape. Okay, and deductive reasoning. So deductive reasoning means what? For example, so the tests are designed to examine your ability and to apply a set of rules on a specific example. Okay, so they'll give some questions on the process, and they'll give some examples to identify that, and you have to so keep that identify roles in the process. Okay, and next one is a diagrammatic reasoning. So diagrammatic reasoning means what? So in the diagrammatic form. Okay, so the person is going to be adjusted and show the logical thinking in a diagram form. So that diagram, so it should be in a inductive or deductive reasoning test. Okay, so one diagram they will give, so they are going to check out and what is the behind the reason of the personality. So that logical test you have to undergo. And spatial reasoning test means what? Here, so mental folding and mental rotation abilities they are going to identify. Okay, so they are going to identify some of the navigate 2D and 3D images. They are going to identify and explain regarding of that image concept. And next one is a mechanical or electrical aptitude test. So mechanical and electrical means what? So higher level of analysis is going to be there. For example, like industrial specializations will be there, right? So in that form, so they are going to understand what is a mechanical means instrumental or the electrical subject. So that questions they are going to ask in this. And next one, error checking test. So mostly these type of error checking test we can see in industries like marketing, education and hospitality and engineering. So in these areas, and they are going to find out the problem identification by doing certain activities. And next one is a concentration test. Okay, like for example like administratives and clerks, okay, pilots, train drivers and some of the other railway workers, or is going to be recruited as a concentration test. For the recruitment process only they are going to use this type of concentration test. Okay, and we'll see some of the psychometric assessment, and first was given by the Alford. Okay, so that is the first one is what? Intelligent test. Okay, so these intelligent test is going to be subdivided into further types. So first we'll see what is a further type. So first one is a what? Stanford Binet test. Okay, so who was introduced already we have seen in the introduction, that is Alfred Binet and Theodore Sinon. Okay, so he is a French scientist. Okay, so he has a new way to test intelligence. Okay, so he introduced that is called as what? Binet-Simon scale. So introduced the scale is what? Binet-Simon scale. In the year of 1909 he has been introduced. Okay, and he also differentiated that for especially for the children's and for vacation and for academic schools. So separate way of identifying of intelligent test has been introduced. Okay, so that form is called as a performance method. So they'll give some of the intelligence based upon some of the abilities they'll give, and for that so they are going to have a series of questions and they are going to implement the correct answer. Okay, and so to help some compare intelligence between different types of people, so how they are going to make out, for example now, so whatever the intelligence the older means 7th year of old child is having, so the same person is not having the score of 9 years old. Okay, so we can't compare the year of, because the 7 years old child is having the intelligence of what? 9 years child. So we should not be comparing the intelligence question according to the, so we have according to age group only we have to maintain. Okay, So that year they have been raised. Okay, so between 2 to 23 years of age, so this test has been validated. And next one is next under intelligence test. The second one is army alpha and the beta test. Okay, so here army alpha means, so these army alpha and the beta test, so which was introduced in the year of 1917. So during the World War I, so they have recruited these type of army alpha and the beta test. So this alpha for literates they have been initiated. For the beta for illiterates they have been initiated. For example, like non-English speakers. Okay, so here for alpha subtest, so they are going to make some practical judgments, analogues, and disarrangement, sentence, everything they are going to, because they can able to write, read. Okay, and in the beta subtest, so they are going to memorize matchings, pictures, and sentence completion test and geometric constructions. So these types of tests they are going to implement in the army alpha and the beta test. Okay, so next third one is a Wechsler's intelligence test. Okay, so it was introduced by David Wechsler's. Okay, so in the year of 1939 or to 1981, so he has been doing a work on this Wechsler's intelligence test. Okay, so here it contains of one verbal and the performance subtest is going to be there, and where he differentiated, so he designed widely used test on adults and as well as an children's. Okay, so widely, so test, okay, designed widely used test for the preschoolers and the children. So separately they have been set up. So first we'll see, according to a kit, he has prepared for example like text testing booklets, like story cards, puzzle pieces, and block designs. So different kind of testing they have been produced. Okay, so two types of test he has introduced, like verbal test and the performance test. So verbal test means what, already we discussed that, information comprehension and arithmetic symbols, similarities, digital spans, vocabularies, letter, number, sequencing. So these are all called as verbal performance. And as an performance scale means what, digital symbol, picture completion, and block designs, and picture arrangement, matrix reasoning, object assembly, and symbol search. So these are all called as what, performance scale. So by this, and according to the adults and the children and the preschoolers, and separately they have been taken. And the next one is a verbal intelligence test. So in detail we will be discussing what is a verbal intelligence test and the performance test. Okay, so first one is information. Information means what, so regarding general knowledge they are going to ask the questions. Okay, and comprehension. So comprehensions means understanding questions and grasp the concept of the, for example they will give one story, means letter writing story, like they will give, and you have to read that and you have to understand and you have to make a concept. Okay, arithmetic means mathematics ability, and similarities means what, so measure abstract thought. Okay, abstract thought means what is the difference between the two areas. Okay, so that you have to make abstract thinking. So digital span means attention span. Vocabulary means what, meaning. Okay, so they will give one term and you have to say the answer to the term. And next, performance. Okay, so they'll give a digital symbol, means mental flexibility with the random symbols they'll give, so you have to identify that symbols. Okay, and next, picture completion. Okay, picture completion means what, so they will give two pictures difference and you have to differentiate what is the similarities between the two pictures. Okay, and next, block design. So mentally constructed printed design in your head. So you have to have idea now, they'll give concept and you are going to give an idea on the block designs. Okay, so they'll give a play items, you have to make a block and build a head. So picture arrangement. Okay, so they'll give one, like small children they'll play, right? So they'll give one concept and they'll distribute, and that pictures you have to arrange the logical order. Okay, object means what, plays a character part in relation to the whole. Okay, so means, so they'll give an object form and that you have to make a correct relationship between one object to the other object, you have to differentiate. Okay, and next one we go for the Raven's progressive matrices. Okay, so in this what they are going to do means, so in this test they consisting of 50 designs they are going to consist. So in these 50 designs in cutout segments they are going to place out, and every 6 to 8 cutout alternative pieces are arranged in one matrix. Okay, and these matrix for children of progressive matrix are okay, and standard progressive matrix and advanced matrices. So these three types they have been differentiated by the Raven's progressive matrices. Okay, and first one is intelligence tests. So these are two where we have learned. So these are the intelligence tests. Now we are going to see the personality test. Okay, so what is a personality test? Okay, so Minnesota multiphasic personality inventory. Okay, so what is happening here means, and it is mostly invented to identify the emotional disorders of the patient. Okay, and also used at the personality test in the mental health or the mental ill person, and also to identify the personality structure and the psychopathology, means what is the reason behind the cause. Okay, so that they are going to identify, and so according to him, and he has made that so it is an appropriate for use of adults 18 and over they can make out. Okay, so what they are going to do, so they are going to take out 567 items they have to take and make a true or false format they have to make, and 1 and 2 hours to complete by reading these levels, and they are going to identify so what is the reason behind the process. Okay, so like this, for example, now so hypochondriasis scale, so they will give some questions, and depression scale they will give some questions, and scale 3 hysteric scale, and scale 4 psychopathic deviated scale. Okay, and fifth one is what, and propensity or masculinity scale, and sixth one is a paranoia scale, and seventh one psychasthenia scale, and eighth one schizophrenia scale, and ninth mania, and scale 0 indicates the social introversion scale. So according to this clinical scale, and they are going to identify the personality of the individuals. And in the personality test, and second one is a Rorschach incublot test. Okay, so he has made some of the set of 10 incublots they have given. Okay, it was designed by whom? Herman Rorschach. Okay, so that the name indicate, and so the widely using this incublot test is a projective test. Okay, so they are going to give, so for example in the video you are showing, right, so they are going to give some theme, so you have to identify what is the theme inside this image. Okay, so you have to identify the personality behavior of the individuals. And next one is the TAT, means thematic appreciation. Okay, a perception test. Okay, so thematic a perception test. So what is going to be there here means, so what is the inner motive of your story behind the picture or the scene is called as a thematic, okay, appreciation test. Okay, so what is going to be there here means, so in this test, so they are going to do a widely researched, taught and used for this test. Okay, so what are they going to do, so they are going to motive and needs for the achievement, and power and intimacy and problem solving abilities are very important in order to identify the setup of behind the scene. Okay, so what they are going to here means, for example, and it is also called as the picture interpretation technique, means so they will give an ambitious picture, and they will make a subject is asked to tell a story what is happening on the picture. Okay, so the patient is going to be show some events what is happening behind the picture. Okay, so what had led up to the event show, and what is happening at the moment, what is the characteristics of feeling and thinking about that picture, and what is the outcome of the story was. See, like this type of questions you have to make sure on the patient. Okay, so how many they have made? 31 picture cards they have made. Okay, some of the cards show male figures, or some show female, or some shows the male and female figures, or some of the ambiguous genders also. Okay, some adults and some children, or some show no human figures at all. So one card is completely blank. So like this, so they are going to differentiate individuals, and they are going to make so the difference between one picture of a make the story of overall persons. Okay, so this is called a subject project on the ambiguous information, and whatever the person is giving the information and whatever the story he is narrating, everything should be carefully recorded and analyzed, and to identify his needs and attitudes and the pattern of his reaction, and according to the picture process. Okay, and the last one is a performance testing. Okay, so in this part personality test, and there is another test is the performance test. So mostly these tests will cover for the engineering and the functional evaluations. So for example, like for selecting of the employers, okay, candidates, okay, so it is going to be identify the qualitative or quantitative procedures for the human examining. So these performance test is going to be used. And next one is a neuropsychological assessment. So neuropsychological assessment means, so they are going to identify the cognitive returning, okay, means the cognitive skills they are going to identify whether the mental development delay or taking necessary actions on time. So that you have to identify by this neuropsychological assessment. Okay, so what are the things they are going to do here means attention, perception, intelligence, judgment, concentration, memory, learning and thought process. So these are the common areas of assessment, includes the neuropsychological assessment. Okay, so test of attention and concentration. So what they are going to do here means, and to arouse and sustain attention individual time, or so most of the illness attention become poor and fluctuations. So that you have to identify by the digital test of concentration, color cancellation task and digital symbol, okay, subtraction, letter cancellation, and knock cube limitation test. So these tests you have to perform. Okay, and also you have to differentiating a mild to severe means psychometric assessment they are going to check out. And a block reversal test. Block reversal test means what? So check the reaction. For example, they will give some concept and they are going to differentiate the answer from the question. And test of memory. So test of memory means what? So continue recalling the alphabet. For example, now digital span recalling they are going. For example, alphabets like starting from after F what it comes, and whenever you are taking a numbering, that's after 16, 17, 18, 19. So continuation of the memory also you have to identify. Okay, and next one is a PGI memory scale, means performance graphic scale. Okay, so these tests, okay, so these standardization for the Indian population only, they are going to identify these type of memory scale. For example, like words, digits and the nonsense symbols and the sentence. So they are going to take out for the to identify the memory assessment. Okay, so that are bent on test of visual retention or revised or memory for design test. So these are the two tests that have been identified. Okay, and next one is a comprehensive neuropsychiatric batteries, that is mini mental status examination or the Falstein test. Okay, so whatever they have given here, they are going to give 30-point questionnaire test they are going to screen out, and in that they are going to have answers. Okay, so according to Luria, Nebraska, the neuropsychologist battery has been explained this. Okay, and some answers they are going to keep, and they are going to identify the abnormality of the individual. So like this. Okay, for example, motor functions, some questions, so rhythms, tactile functions, visual functions, receptive speech and expressive speech like writing. Okay, that they are going to make out. And also other thing, reading, some mathematic memory, intelligent process and pathognomic, and a left hemisphere and right hemisphere. So these are the neuropsychological battery they are going to assess in this process. So that is regarding of overall psychometric assessment test. Okay, so today we have dealt regarding what do you mean by psychometric test, and some characteristics and the principles and the different kind of test like intelligence test and the personality test. Okay, thank you.